Okay, today we're diving into a book that's, well, it's a giant for a reason. Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This isn't just some dusty self-help book. Its ideas are, I think, more crucial now than ever. We're going to break down exactly why.
So let me ask you something. Does this feel familiar? You're constantly busy, right? Your calendar's packed, you're always running around, but at the end of the day, you're not actually seeing the results you want. You're not getting that growth, that sense of achievement, or even just a little peace. Well, you're not alone. Covey says this feeling, being busy but totally ineffective, is exactly what his work is all about fixing.
So what's going on here? Where's the disconnect? Well, Covey has a pretty powerful idea. He says that for about the last 50 years, we've been obsessed with what he calls the personality ethic. Think of it like frosting. It's all about the quick fixes, the fancy techniques, looking good on the outside. But he argues that real, lasting success, that comes from the character ethic. That's the actual cake. It's the deep stuff, integrity, courage, justice. It's who you are, not just what you do.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the effectiveness trap we all fall into. Then, the inside-out shift. That's the key. After that, we'll get into the habits, starting with the private victory over yourself, and then the public victory with others, and how to keep it all going.
Okay, Section 1, the effectiveness trap. Let's talk about why all those quick fixes and shortcuts we love, well, why they just don't work in the long run.
To explain this, Covey brings up a story we all know, the goose that laid the golden eggs. Right? The farmer has this amazing goose that gives him a golden egg every single day. But he gets impatient. He wants all the eggs now. So what does he do? He kills the goose, and in his greed for the output, he destroys the very thing that was producing it.
And that story, right there, is the key to one of Covey's biggest ideas, the PPC balance. P is for production. That's the golden eggs, the results you want. PC is for production capability. That's the goose, the thing that makes the results. See, true effectiveness is all about keeping those two in balance. If you only focus on the eggs and forget to feed the goose, pretty soon you're going to have no goose and no more eggs.
All right, so if we need to balance the goose and the eggs, how do we actually do that? Well, Covey says it's not about working harder or finding a new technique. It starts way deeper than that. It starts with an inside-out shift. It's about changing how you see things first before you change what you do.
And the word he uses for this is paradigm. Now that might sound a little academic, but think of it this way. A paradigm is just a map. It's the mental map you use to navigate the world. But here's the thing. The map is not the territory. And if you're trying to get around Chicago using a map of Detroit, well, it doesn't matter how fast you run or how positive you are, right? You're just going to get more and more lost.
And this leads to one of his most powerful quotes. The way we see the problem is the problem. Just let that sink in for a second. So often, the real issue isn't the problem itself. It's our flawed map, our flawed way of looking at it. We have to fix the map before we can ever hope to find our way.
He tells this incredible story to illustrate it. He's on a subway, and there's this guy with his kids, and the kids are just out of control, screaming, running around, a total nightmare. And Covey is getting more and more irritated. Finally, he leans over and says something like, "Sir, can you please control your children?" And the man just kind of looks up like he's in a fog and says, "Oh, you're right. I guess I should. We just came from the hospital. Their mother just died about an hour ago." Wow. I mean, in that single moment, Covey's entire perspective just flips. He goes from total irritation to this wave of compassion. That's a paradigm shift.
Okay, so this idea of changing from the inside out is what brings us to the actual habits. And the first three are all about what Covey calls the private victory. This is where you master yourself first. It's about moving from being dependent on other people and circumstances to becoming truly independent. And those three habits are: be proactive, begin with the end in mind, and put first things first. These are the building blocks, the foundation for everything else. So, habit 1, be proactive. And look, this is way more than just taking initiative. It's about realizing that you are the one in the driver's seat of your life. You are responsible. He tells this great story about a student who had a terrible teacher. Everyone else in the class just complained and blamed the teacher for their bad grades. But this one student, she decided to be proactive. She went out, bought the textbook, studied her butt off on her own, and absolutely aced the exam. She didn't focus on what she couldn't control, the teacher. She focused on what she could, her own effort. Then we have habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. And Covey asks this really intense question to get the point across. I want you to picture your own funeral.
Seriously, what do you want people to be saying about you? Your family, your friends? What kind of person were you? What did you stand for? That vision, that's your end in mind. And the whole idea is that every single thing you do today should be getting you closer to being that person. And that flows perfectly into habit 3. Put first things first. This is where the famous urgent/important matrix comes in. Now, most of us spend our lives firefighting in quadrants 1 and 3, dealing with whatever is screaming the loudest, whatever feels urgent. But Covey says the truly effective people, they live in quadrant 2. They focus on the things that are important but not urgent. Things like planning for the future, building relationships, exercising, learning new things. That's where the magic happens. That's the stuff that prevents the fires from starting in the first place.
Okay, so once you've mastered yourself with that private victory, you're ready for the next level, the public victory. This is all about working effectively with other people. It's about moving from just being independent to being interdependent, where you can create amazing things together.
And the habits for this are: think win-win, seek first to understand, then to be understood, synergize, and finally the one that holds it all together, sharpen the saw. Habit 4 is think win-win. This is a total mindset shift. It's about realizing that life isn't a zero-sum game. For me to win, you don't have to lose. The anecdote about Caltech students is perfect for this. I mean, these are some of the smartest people in the world in one of the most competitive environments, right? And how did they succeed? Not by trying to beat each other, but by working together on brutally hard problem sets. They figured out that a rising tide lifts all boats.
Next up, a huge one for communication, habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Think about how you listen. Be honest. Most of us, we're not really listening. We're just waiting for our turn to talk, right? We're formulating our brilliant response in our head. But Covey says that's backwards. Real influence, real connection, that only comes when you genuinely try to see the world from their eyes first. You have to diagnose before you prescribe. And when you take that win-win mindset and you combine it with that deep, empathetic listening, you get habit 6, synergize. Synergy is that incredible moment when the whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts. It's where 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, it equals 3 or 5 or 10. It's when you work together to create something that neither of you could have ever come up with on your own. And that brings us to the final habit, the one that makes all the others possible. And the story for this is just classic. Picture a guy in the woods just furiously sawing away at a tree, sweating, getting nowhere. Someone walks by and says, "Hey, why don't you take a break and sharpen that saw? You'd go a lot faster." And the guy, without even looking up, just pants, "I can't. I'm too busy sawing." Sound familiar? That guy with the dull saw is basically all of us when we get burned out. And that's why habit 7 is sharpen the saw. It's the solution. It's about taking the time to renew yourself in 4 key areas of your life. Physical, exercise, nutrition. Mental, reading, learning. Social/emotional, connecting with people. And spiritual, whatever that means to you. Meditation, nature, art. Because you are your most important asset. You have to take care of the goose. So when you look at all 7 of these habits, they all point back to that one single, powerful idea we started with. True effectiveness is an inside-out job. It doesn't start with a new app or a productivity hack. It starts with your character. It starts with your paradigms, the maps you use to see the world. It's about the principles you decide to build your life on. So I want to leave you with this one question, because honestly, trying to master all 7 habits at once is overwhelming. So forget that for a second. Just ask yourself this. What is one map you're holding onto right now? One paradigm, one fundamental way you see a problem or a relationship or even yourself that maybe, just maybe, isn't serving you anymore? What's one little shift you could make starting today?